is Rory O'Toole.
And my name is Matt Schultz.
And this is How to Be,
the podcast where we discuss ancient wisdom, modern hacks, paperback self-help books, and pithy platitudes,
in the hopes of figuring out the best way to live this one precious and wild life.
Do you live an isolated, individualistic existence? Are you looking for ways to connect with those around you and those who think like you? If so, join us as we discuss the lost Camelot of communal living.
Welcome back, Matt. We're back from our hiatus.
We are back. We're so excited to be back.
We are. We've been trying to record for a while, actually, but we are just two ships passing in the night because you're a little, you're in kind of a weird limbo. You're on a vacation, but in the country you live in, I guess. A staycation?
A staycation, yeah. I mean, I'm back in Tel Aviv for the summer, not in Jerusalem. And I'm just working instead of working and schooling.
Mm-hmm.
So this is actually what my whole life was like for years. And it feels so easy and free.
I know.
That I wonder why I ever disrupted it.
You need the contrast, that's why, to appreciate it.
I was like, it'd be nice. Tens of thousands of dollars in loans, an overburdened schedule, and a 5-year commitment. And it really does make you appreciate the simple things.
Oh, yeah.
The way things were.
Mm-hmm. Well, my summer's been really up and down, but that's for another time. And then we both saw a movie this weekend, a big movie, the movie of the year, maybe.
The movie of the year, Barbie.
The Barbie movie.
I'm a Barbie girl. Are you a Barbie girl now? Did you like it?
Well, I was always a Barbie girl. I had a lot of Barbies and a lot of Barbie accessories. I had the dream house with the elevator and the horse.
Oh.
Which is an important...
A lot about horses.
A lot about horses. I thought the movie was mostly enjoyable. Mm-hmm. A lot of smiles on my face. Did not need the America Ferrera character or her daughter at all.
No,
they... thought we could have used that time to make all of that storyline to make Barbie... Spoilers, everyone, there's going to be some spoilers, so skip ahead.
Spoilers.
What I didn't like was at the end when Barbie wants to be human. I didn't get that throughout the movie. I thought we could have cut the America Ferrera character and the child and spent more time making her interested in being human.
100%. I had the exact same thought as this was not your character arc. You were not on this journey at all wanting to be human. And then all of a sudden they introduced that. And okay, so it had a few plot lines and none of them were really developed. One was Barbie's journey towards humanity. One was they're being chased by Mattel corporate, which they completely forget about for 75% of the movie.
Yeah, we didn't need that at all.
We did need one of these plot lines. They just needed to pick one and develop it. Or America Ferrera and her daughter, which was also just so undeveloped and so flat. All of the plot, they had 4 different plots for this movie. All of them were flat, and they needed to pick one and do it well. But also, the ghost of Barbie's creator, was that the woman from Cheers?
Yeah, Rhea Perlman.
Okay. Rhea Perlman, the ghost of Rhea Perlman comes and is Barbie, if you want to be human, you have to know what you're really getting into. And she shows her a vision of what it's like to be a human. Little girls playing and being on swing sets, but also tears. And Barbie says yes.
I see where you're going with this.
I thought Barbie deserved a little more information about what it's really like. I wanted images of Nazis goose stepping across Berlin. I
Yeah.
wanted footage of, those girls being freed from that guy's basement where they had been locked up.
Like
Like,
Ariel
breaking
Castro.
news. Yeah.
Yeah.
Breaking news. Ariel Castro had 6 women trapped in his basement for 8 years.
You know, would have been very germane, the atomic bomb going off.
I want,
That
yes,
image.
the same era.
Mm, not the
I
same
wanted,
era. No, I meant because Oppenheimer's coming out this weekend too.
oh, I thought you meant because Barbie was developed in the 50s,
No.
a time of
Is
nuclear expansion.
Oppenheimer not coming out by you right this weekend?
No, it is. It is. It
Okay.
is. I just forgot. I forgot about the true connection. Yeah, a nuclear bomb. I just thought Barbie deserved a lot more information.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And
Agreed.
she would have been like, no.
You know, maybe not. Maybe it's like the giver. She's the receiver.
It was just not a great movie. How come no movies are great?
I don't know why no movies are great. It was Smiles, but it's like yeah, it's for kids.
It
Maybe.
was just like a little too
That's the,
corporate.
that's the thing about movies is I'm like, is this it's like kids movies with adult jokes. I'm like, is this for kids or is this for adults? But adult movies with stupid plot lines.
It was not for kids.
I liked the opening. I liked the dance sequences, actually.
The dance sequence was nice.
And could you
Um,
imagine having that as much charisma as Ryan Gosling? How does he? He is so charismatic.
that's what all the reviews are saying. It doesn't work on me.
Are you kidding?
I'm unaffected.
I am like, you are a charmer. I feel like
Wow.
you kind of stole the movie.
That's what everyone is saying. They were like,
Really?
Mario Robbie just can't even be on screen with him because he steals the scene. And I was not getting that.
Oh, I'm like, I could not handle like being around someone like that in real life.
Don't feel that way. That's fascinating. I don't have an antipathy towards him either. I just like, okay, generic, attractive male actor.
I don't think he's attractive. That's the interesting thing. I think he has a weird head. Strange placement of features on the head.
Okay. Do you
But
just find him so funny and likable?
yeah,
Seems
like
quite talented.
there's just something about him to me.
Hmm.
His swagger, he has little swagger, confidence, he has timing.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Okay.
But I get it. Well, I
You're
don't get it, but I can see it.
who do you think is charming? Who makes you giggle?
Um, I mean, Sarah Jessica Parker.
Oh my God. How gorgeous was Sarah Jessica Parker in this week's episode of And Just Like That? This is coming out later than so it's the episode where
Episode 6.
SJP is speaking at the WidowCon. She looked
Widow
so
Con.
beautiful up there reading from her book, didn't she?
Her beauty was a little out of control this episode, I would say. I thought she was almost too beautiful.
Like I was like
Give
stunned.
other women a chance.
Why does she look so beautiful this season?
Ah, she's just that long, elegant head. So patrician, so beautiful. The light in her eyes.
Ugh, stunning. Okay, should we get started? You know, that's a show about community, but also
Sex and the
individualism.
City.
Yeah, it really
It's about,
explores both of those topics, actually.
I think it's about filling the void of community, but it's not
Mhm.
about community.
There you
You
go.
can't call your 3 best girlfriends a community. Um, but it's what they do to fill the void because the modern world, we're just jumping in, we're talking about community today. The modern world does not have communities in the way that it used to, so we fill the void the best we can.
Yeah, it's
And
like
3 good girlfriends is, as good a solution as any.
right. So yeah, I mean, for millennia, human beings lived one way, much more communally. And then basically since the Industrial Revolution, like let's say late 18s, we've been living a more individualistic life. Apartments for a single person. One person lives there. You and your cat, you and your dog, you and your ghosts. And that is a radically different way of being than it had been for thousands of years. And thusly, it has, implications.
Video today about this building in Japan that they just deconstructed it. It ended up not being a successful project, but it's interesting as sort of a thought experiment. It was a residential tower, a series of residential towers built of modular pods. So in it would be this sort of perfect little white square. It was built in like the 80s or the 90s or something. And, it has your little bathroom and your little kitchen and your little living space, a little tiny pod apartment. And, it's sort of like the individualist, it's like the logical end of this individualism project. Like the apartments literally are barely connected to the same infrastructure. Like you can pull one out and put a new one in. Like you can
or like a bunch of storage spaces that you
yes,
like
they're
you are
truly
storage.
not connected. And they ended up never actually switching in old ones and new ones, but that was like the architectural plan that that the building would be reshapeable in all these different ways.
Yeah, so I was thinking about this, about like what caused this change? It was a lot of people moving into cities to work in factories when they had to leave their family, because a family was kind of a lot of time an economic unit, right? They lived and worked together. And then people began to be able to get jobs outside of their family. Even if you worked with like as an apprentice, you kind of became part of someone else's family. You lived and worked with those people. And now we're working in factories. We're living in cities.
Start working for the blacksmith, marry his homely, soot-smudged daughter.
Exactly. And you all sleep in one big bed, family bed. You sleep
my family, we did that.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah. Mom, dad, brothers, aunts, uncles. About on a busy night, it was about 30 of us in there.
Head toe.
Yeah.
Each with your computer out watching a different show.
Yeah, it was chaotic. It was chaos.
And then came like the rise of the nuclear family, which we're always hearkening back to as if that is the way that like the world has always been: mom, dad, X amount of children, depending on if you have an open womb or not.
Yeah.
But that's not really the way it's always been. That was the way it was for a brief period of time until the nuclear family, after a few decades, broke down. And actually, we started living alone for a lot of the time. And a lot of our lives we spend living alone, let's say, or maybe with a roommate. But when you have a roommate, you're kind of living alone. Like I think in our world and in our demographic, having a roommate is not can easily not be a form of community. You can really set like strict boundaries.
Yeah.
You might not even notice if you die.
There's different versions of it for sure. From the more communal, I would always tell potential roommates, I'm looking for a familial vibe, not a commune.
You would?
Yeah.
What's a familial vibe versus commune?
I think of a family as, I guess, like it's a like
one bed. You're like one bed.
One bed. Like a family, like you can share some things, but you don't share. I guess it's like not a family vibe, what I'm describing. But I guess I meant like just like it's friendly. You can share some stuff. Like not everything in like the fridge won't be like this person's shelf, this person's shelf, this person's shelf.
Not a workplace fridge. It's not a break room fridge.
Yeah, it's not a break room fridge, but it's not a commune where everything is shared.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But I guess in a family, everything is shared.
No, my mom would be like, "This is my olive oil. Please don't touch it. When you cook, please buy your own olive oil." Rory, that's my butter. Excuse me.
That would be such a funny way to be.
um, and I was reading this Atlantic article, and of course, there's, I think a lot of people in our world talk a lot about like the individual way of living, the breakdown of communal living as being an advantage for capitalism. And this Atlantic article, I think, put it well. The market wants us to live alone or with just a few people. That way, we are mobile, unattached, and uncommitted, able to devote an enormous number of hours to our jobs. Oh, second, when people who are raised in developed countries get money, they buy privacy. And that reminded me a lot of a Joan Didion essay in, I think it's Slouching Towards Bethlehem, where she talks about Howard Hughes and how, Howard Hughes was a recluse who lived completely alone and how that's what he was able to buy. And,
Yes.
but I always thought that essay was interesting because I'm like, no, people like love to share their lives on social media. They hate privacy. But now I'm starting to have like a more nuanced approach to that because it's like what you share is so curated. It's not like someone's
Yeah,
walking to
it's
the bathroom.
yeah, you're ultimately very alone. It's not quite private, but your life is private. You have privacy. You're just you don't care about people knowing things about you. You have no modesty or humility, and not humility. It's modesty. But yeah, I forget what I read. I read something very similar to that years ago that I think of often, that it's like the first thing people buy when they like move up a level socioeconomically is isolation, out to the suburbs. And like when you think about like a lot of times also this happens with like a wedding, and like when you think about like wedding gifts, it's like, okay, here's all of your new property. Like I think you were saying to me before, like like the market wants it so that like every person has their own blender, no sharing blenders. That way they can sell lots of blenders. So when a couple gets married and they move into their own little cell together, it's
Their own
like,
little
here's your
module.
blender.
Yeah.
Yeah, you move into your module. Here's your blender. Here's your stand mixer. Yeah, at this point, we're not even sharing a cup of sugar with our neighbors. Who's doing
No,
that?
I am, but that's just
Could have
I'm
anthrax in it.
I'm folksy like that.
Yeah.
I'm folksy like that. But that is the thing, is like like you said, we buy privacy. We both like our privacy. There's a lot of
Yes.
good things to privacy as well. I mean, one problem with living with other people is you have to be around other people, and other people have personalities, and those personalities are annoying.
Or like, okay, we went to a very small college,
Yes.
Sadie Lou, Sarah Lawrence, and I felt truly oppressed by the smallness by the end of it. Like I was like, I want to be free of people's prying eyes.
Yeah, I mean, anonymity can be so freeing. Like when I moved in Chicago, I was living in the neighborhood I grew up in, which was this cute little neighborhood, but like too many familiar faces. I was sick of running into people at the little grocery store where you bought that honey.
Oh yeah.
And now I live in this huge anonymous city, and I think about it all the time. There's no chance in hell I'm going to run into anyone anywhere because I don't know anyone relative
Well,
to this population. Yeah, I mean, this is the dream of Sex in the City, to live in New York City, to have your small community of girlfriends that takes up all of the loneliness you might feel, except for when you're, maybe 30, turning 35, and you feel kind of sad that you don't have a man in your life. Um,
mhm.
and you scamper around the city, rarely running into people, and you have this apartment that is absolutely perfect. I mean, you and I watched Sex in the City growing up, and didn't we just both want to live in Carrie's apartment?
Yeah, the apartment the apartment was the dream. And I don't think that there's like, okay, like of iconic apartments on TV, of which there are many, excuse me, only the ones that the people live in alone are sort of the fantasy. Like Frasier's apartment is great. Obviously, everyone who walks in is like, oh, Frasier, what an amazing place. But there's too many people there, so you don't really dream about it. Whereas Carrie's apartment, Mary Tyler Moore's apartment, um, you know, Seinfeld's apartment is not so dreamy in that way, but I'd
Well,
rather live there than in the Frasier apartment, to be honest.
yeah, but he has drop-ins. He's a lot of drop-ins. Carrie never has drop-ins. And the other thing about Carrie's apartment that I'm sort of just realizing now is how quiet it is. This woman
Mm,
never has music playing in the background. The only thing she's ever watched alone
is
is
the
the
credits.
credits to Saturday Night Live.
Yeah.
She is living in pure silence, and it's perfectly the right amount of clean, the right amount of cluttered. Everything about it
Yes.
just feels so my my apartment, my perfect little slice of the city.
Yes. 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 It's so perfect. It's not too nice.
No,
Like
it's not
if that
embarrassing.
apartment, if like everyone talks about like the clothing and Sex in the City being this like unrealistic, unaffordable dream. If they had made the apartment similarly sort of decadent, that show would have had no charm. It would have just been like a scripted version of Real Housewives of New York. It would have been about these rich bitches, and we would have all
Mm-hmm.
hated them. It's the warmth and the humbleness and
Mm-hmm.
also the personality. Like, you know, the apartment was her, she was the apartment. And the second you have other people in your place, it's not that anymore. I always like to think of how, like, parents' rooms are so boring, like a shared bedroom, you know, salmon colored walls and
Oh,
two
really?
little
I
book
think,
stands
yeah, yeah.
or bedside tables.
Yeah, you're right. They do have the best TV though.
They have the best TV, but the kids' rooms are popping, because that gets to be your space.
Yeah,
Posters,
galaxy lights.
galaxy lights, it's you, and Carrie's apartment is her.
Yeah. But there are a few times in Sex and the City where she does mention loneliness. And I was thinking about
Mhm.
loneliness and this rise of individualism, individual living versus communal living. And I was like, when did loneliness become a concept? And it seems like it didn't really exist based on my research before the 19th century, at least not in a chronic form, with the exception of like maybe a monarch, they said. And Ophelia died of
Oh.
loneliness, allegedly. But I kind of feel like she died because her boyfriend killed her dad. But, maybe she was lonely. Um, um, and it's easier to live alone now because we have all these other forms of communication. Like we can call someone, we can text someone, yada yada yada, but we still feel lonely. I mean, that's what we talk about all the time. We have all these ways of like reaching people not in person, but does it fill the void?
Oh, the void. I mean, I've had some very lonely periods in my life where the void was just not filled. I was living alone.
Well, that's why you went to
It's like,
school as we were.
yeah, there was a void. There was a void. And it's weird. It's not like I didn't have friends and like I had like a good social life at that point in my life, but there was just something too much, too many margins. So it's like, okay, you work, you meet this person, you do that. but the margins, the quietness in between all of those things was too much. And when you're in a bustling community, you don't get those margins. You crave them. You end up craving them. But I think the loneliness of the margins is more spiritually destructive than the agitation of not having them.
Yeah, it's interesting because to me, when I look back at the past before loneliness was a thing, I think about how, especially I guess I'm thinking Victorian era, I guess, but maybe all throughout, it seems to me like people are portrayed as not being able to fully express their true emotions to one another because of propriety's sake. And to me,
Hmm.
that or propriety and fear of judgment. Whereas now today we're like constantly expressing our deepest, darkest emotions to people, but we still feel lonely. But that feels lonely to me living in a society where you can't say what you really feel or think.
I think you could.
That's just the
And
way, that's just what I'm picking up
yeah,
reading.
I think there are ways in which you could then, and I think there's ways in which we can't now.
Innuendo that I don't quite appreciate. I can't, I'm too daft for.
Yeah, or like it's not being reflected in the books necessarily, but like, yeah, when you were like, alone with your sister,
Because Dorothea,
like, okay,
Brooke, and Celia are
Celia,
not able. I mean, Celia can't say anything to Dorothea.
but have you seen, I think I sent you this reel of like, it was this like
A reel
19,
from the 1850s. The
it
first
kind of was.
reel.
It was from like it was it was from like the 50s or the 60s or something. It's in black and white. And it was like a little prank that they did. And they have these two girls, they're probably like 11 or 12 years old or something. And they introduce them to their new teacher who's like insanely handsome. And he's
Oh,
like, "Hello, girls, I'll be your geography teacher today. We'll be learning about Idaho." And then like he like leaves the room and they keep filming them. It's like a candid camera, and they're like, "Oh, and they like
yeah.
freak out about his cuteness. And it's really cute. And it's like,
But could you do that in 1850?
I think you could.
Oh, okay. I like
I
that
think you
idea.
could. I think it's just like we didn't have the candid cameras then.
I love that idea. I mean, I like to think that all human beings were like me. So
Yeah. It's the Dakota, what's that actress's name?
Fanning,
No, the
Johnson.
persuasion, the Dakota Johnson theory of history.
Oh, yeah. Like we're all just
We're all just
indie
millennials.
sleaze millennials.
Yeah.
Wearing Converse with our umpire waist dresses. Um,
Exactly.
okay, so I want to give you this quiz. So to diagnose loneliness, doctors at UCLA devised a loneliness scale, okay?
Okay.
Answer often, sometimes, rarely, or never.
Okay.
I am unhappy doing so many things alone.
Sometimes.
I have nobody to talk to. I know that's not true.
Never.
You're always talking to me. I cannot tolerate being so alone.
Never.
Never. I
No,
feel
I enjoy my alone time these days.
I feel as if nobody really understands me.
Sometimes.
Oh, really?
Not nobody. I guess by sometimes, I mean to like give a moderate answer to that question,
Yeah, it's like,
which is like, feel like lots of people don't understand me, but obviously, like, you understand me.
but not
My
all the
mom
time.
understands me. My boyfriend understands me.
I am no longer close to anyone. Oof, isn't that heartbreaking?
I know this, like, I just think of the elderly, like the loneliness crisis
Yes,
of the
yes.
elderly, and it's so heartbreaking.
There is no one I can turn to.
Oh,
and I feel isolated from others. That is the thing, is it's like there is a huge swath of our world of people, individuals who like for whatever reason, neurodivergent or neurotypical, have a hard time like building their own community. And the default community of the way we used to live was so
Hmm.
helpful for them and important to them.
Yes. Well, as someone who's part of a lot of Jewish communities, which are
Mhm.
like these very organized communities, it's like you go to services on Saturday and there's going to be people inviting you to Shabbat dinners and there's going to be schmoozing after the services around like a table of food. That is huge for people. It's huge
Yeah.
for people. And sometimes like frankly it's amazing. It's huge for me. Like this weekend, like I didn't have plans. Um my BF was not in town. And I was like, I've got a whole weekend of stuff to do at the church. So I just put on my little Sunday hat, headed down to the church,
Brought
and
your hot dish.
yeah, and that was my weekend, and it was great.
Yeah, that is the thing. I mean, like, this is one of the voids that organized religion really fills that we have not been able to fill with our gross modern um responses is community and like this like form of community where like it doesn't have anything to do with your personality or individual
Yeah, you're with
connections.
people who are really quite different.
Yeah. So another way that people sort of talk about communal, what we've lost now that we live alone or in our smaller family units, is like child rearing and how it's so burdensome to have a family now because both parents are usually working. Um, and you have to outsource childcare. You have to pay people to raise your children. And it was easier back in the day when, well, probably it was a lot easier when only one person was working and you had grandparents around, aunts and uncles, and there was sort of just like a more communal sense of like, well, everyone, and especially that meant children were being watched.
Also, there was, dare I say, less expectation for children to be watched,
Yeah, well, that's true too.
but that's connected
Mm-hmm.
because in a strong community and in a small community, there's less concern about snatchers and danger. It's like the strollers lined up outside the cafe in whatever country that is. Have you seen those pictures?
Of course, yeah, Norway.
Yeah, and it's like so weird. It's like I get that you're not worried, but like what if like a squirrel gets in there?
Yeah, well, also it's like squirrel. Also, it's like I was like watched a video about that recently, and then she was like, "It builds your immune system." I'm like, I don't think so. How
What,
could
to be
you
outside?
to be in the cold all the time as a baby?
Oh,
I'm like, I don't think that's how immune systems work, is it?
I don't know.
As I guess it builds your tolerance to cold, which is good if you live there. But I digress. Yeah, it's nice to be able to be like, okay, I gotta go. Like, there's another adult here, BRB. Or like, if a tragedy happens to you and your individual family, there's community to bury to carry the burden. Because I think
Hmm.
we do feel like all this adulting nonsense on the internet is really expressing, ooh, living this life is burdensome.
Yes.
I feel very picked
Burdensome.
on by just the what would once have been considered the normal comings, goings, and doings of the day.
Yeah, it's hard. It's hard, and it's hard to do it alone. It's much easier to be a team and to split things like housework and work and everything really. Um, did you see the horror movie Midsummer?
Of course.
You know,
Beautiful
It's
Florence Pugh and her arms debut roles.
her beautiful full arms, rounded arms. Um, yeah, gorgeous woman. And it's a movie about you know, spoiler alert again, a movie, the horror in that horror movie is the horror of modern alienation and breakdown of community. You think the horror is the horror of this cult community, but it's not. The horror is that when she experiences this horrifying grief at the beginning of the movie, there's no one to hold her. And then she discovers a place where there are people to hold you. And yes, it has these bizarre costs, these, their particular way of doing things, which turns out to be quite frightening. But in the end, the character chooses this lifestyle because you're held there. You're held by a fabric. When she wails out in the Midsummer Land, all these girls in white dresses rush to her side and wail with her.
Yeah, it's true. Although she's drugged, I don't know if I've always wondered what she does at the end. Does she get back on a plane, go back home, file missing
Oh, I
person
think she
reports?
stays.
Seems too logistically daunting to go back to her old life, I guess. And she has no ties there.
Yeah, and she literally, just did something pretty intense.
Yeah. Yeah, you'd probably want to be in a place that normalizes that. Anyway. um yeah, what you give up with communal living, I think, and what would be really hard for us, and like literally me, you, others like us, if we were to revert back to communal living, is giving up control. Especially, I think, control in child rearing. Like, I think something I hear a lot about people my own age who have kids is like they want their parents involved, but their parents are constantly doing things that they don't agree with, crossing boundaries.
Yes, we love our boundaries, don't we?
We do. We love our boundaries. And that is a direct result of the privilege of privacy and individual living.
Yeah, I like things done a certain way. Or as Carrie says when she can't handle Aiden moving in, I've been taking care of myself for a long time.
Mm-hmm.
It's very hard to accept help when help is not just like, and that's why we love paying for the no strings attached help
Yes.
that
The
modern
help.
society has provided us with the Fresh Direct, the Amazon Prime. Do you know that I'm a Prime member, Rory?
I know customer service at Amazon Prime knows you're a Prime member.
I always say, I always like to let them know that they're dealing with a valued Prime member. And then I think they treat me a little nicer because, I'm very important. Down, they know me. This is Matt Schultz, Prime member, card carrying Prime member.
Um, that is the thing, is it's like actually it's people. I mean, this is like individual living is stratified. Like it's the wealthier or the middle class and above, the more educated, who lives in these individual pods, these modules, and we can afford. Well, not me, but I do, but I shouldn't. People can't afford to outsource the things that, communal living used to do, like a nanny instead of a grandparent. And the nanny has to listen to you and not give your kid certain foods and not let your kid stay up late and not let your kid watch certain movies.
Yes.
The privilege of the nanny versus the grandparent.
Yes, unless you got one of those overbearing Jewish nannies from Queens
Or a Mary
teaching your
Poppins.
kids life lessons. Yeah, actually, these nannies are always turning the house upside down, at least
But you just
on
didn't know you
TV.
need it. You didn't know you needed it.
Yeah, and that's kind of the fantasy of the nanny, too. Like, I guess that's the modern fairy tale, is that like one of these employees we bought to replace what we used to get from community will end up bringing that magic into our home
Mm.
just by virtue of their sort of special personality.
Yeah, absolutely. So, but they're since the 70s, I guess. Like, what about communes? What does that feel like? These intentional communities is what I think they call them now. Where you like, and I watched a video, like a Vice video, I think it was, um, about this place called Twin Oaks where they make hammocks for Pier 1. And you stay there for 10 years. Or not 10 years. You can stay any amount of time, but the average stay is 10 years. And you have to work 40 hours a week though, doing something like hauling the soybeans or something, processing the tofu, making the hammocks. But people really like living there. Obviously, they stay there like a decade, but it's kind of the people you expect.
Yeah. I
People
mean,
for whom the burdens of individual life have become too much.
like Israel was founded with these very collectivist intentional communities, the kibbutzim, and like I'm reading a book about them right now. It's just like it's really, really interesting. And it was very, first of all, they did this thing called the children's house. The children lived separately from the parents.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, I salute the attempt to try and figure out new ways to do things on this planet, but it doesn't always work. And that did not always work. It wasn't good for kids. It wasn't good for parents. So eventually they stopped doing that. I think it's against the law now to do that.
To let your kids in the house all together, probably.
Like, yeah, like to have kibbutzim with children's houses anymore. But like, but also like, yeah, there seems to be something really nice about it too. And in this book I'm talking about, like they talk about these different like uh there were people who had like a creative, you could still be an artist, you could be a songwriter and big in your little community. There's something nice about that localness and being like connected to everyone and sort of having a small pond to swim in. Yeah, I think that's another thing I want to talk about, the boundedness of the community, because you didn't have to be president. You could be president of the work committee at the kibbutz. You didn't have to be the biggest pop star in Israel. You could be the guy who's known as writing really beautiful songs and singing them. You
Mm-hmm.
know, it feels like there's a, a way that everyone can find their place in a small world, in a small pond, where in a big world, not necessarily.
Yeah, absolutely. I think, but doesn't it get boring?
I think it does get boring. And, those communities don't really, they still exist to a certain extent, but
I
I
guess my
don't really
life,
think it's how people want to live ultimately.
no, I guess my life is boring though, too. Is
Oh,
it
come
that we,
on. Yeah, our lives are boring.
yeah, it's just not that well, our lives are boring, but I also feel boredom.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but it's not that, I wonder if it's not that we don't want to live that way. It's just that it's too radical, like to live that way.
What do you
It takes
mean?
something like an industrial revolution to normalize such a shift like that, I think, in the way we live, foundational shift.
Yeah, and that takes me back to that pod building. I was like thinking like the first thing I thought when they were talking about the failure of that project, I was like, well, you can't just like upend the way people have lived forever and expect it to work. And then it's like, actually, no, we do live in giant buildings in the sky. We do live crazy lives that bear no resemblance to the way humans used to live. And it works. We like, but
Yes.
yeah, it takes some sort of,
But that was a byproduct.
it's a byproduct, and it happens. You can't always predict when it's going to work and when it's not, when the
No.
children's house is going to be a great idea. and when it's going to be a terrible idea. And that's sort of the uncertainty of being a human. Okay.
I want to talk about our pathetic forms of community that exist in the modern world that offer us nothing meaningful,
Okay.
like the HOA.
Yeah, terrible.
The idea that,
All the bad and none of the good.
yeah, you have to have your hedges a certain height, and that's the idea of community. Hedge height, paint color.
Hedge height. Terrible. Rules.
And then there are people who such picayune rules, and there are people who like the HOA and enforce the HOA. It's like when I was watching that Bama Rush documentary, sororities. There we go. That's for a weird community to me, where
Well,
they
the HOA is sort of like it, it's all of the strictures of being in a really intense cult with none of the sex and drugs. So it's like, what's the point?
yeah, it's like why who are these people who want to enforce things like hedge height? Like what's wrong with you that you're narking on your neighbors? Like a group of narcs, a formal group of narking.
I mean, people love to be enforcers. I do too, but just for
I
more
guess you are an
meaningful things.
enforcer. But at least your enforcements are like for are in mostly in the forms of like we're together.
Pro-social. I'm a pro-social enforcer. Today on the train, I hate when people try to get on before people get off. This kid was so anxious to get on that he pushed the person who was getting off. Who was the person getting off? Literally a 9-year-old boy on crutches. It was like, you're going to trample Tiny Tim so you get a better seat on a 20-minute train ride?
Oh,
Shame on you.
it was seat fear of a bad seat.
I think so. And you know what? There were plenty of seats.
Yeah,
So that's pro-social enforcing, in my
yes.
opinion.
And then the other form of like modern community, I guess, is like corporate work community, like especially when it takes place after or outside of work hours. Like, listen, if you want to do a community building thing during 9 to 5, I'll show up and I'll participate.
Mhm.
But I'm not joining a softball team with
Yeah.
people I work with. People you work with are people who you have to have a professional demeanor with. And I do that 40 plus hours a week.
Yeah.
To have it be a game, play a game where I'm also being professional. No. Drink wine, but not say anything too embarrassing that will help prevent me from getting promoted. No.
Yeah, people seem to think that they can make work better by adding fun things. It's like, no, just subtract. You make work better by asking us to be there less, not more, but fun this time.
Yeah, 100%.
Just tell me I don't have to go one day. I'll be psyched. I'll feel close. I'll feel connected.
Or do I have to feel closer connected to where I work?
No, I mean, yeah, it's like that's what they want. They want you to feel like some sort of loyalty. But like, yeah, it's like what, they'll just lay you off if they ever need to. So it's like, what point is there in even building a community when there can be no real trust?
Yeah.
When ultimately it's just transactional at the end.
Exactly.
Now, if it was a different kind of workplace, like the other day we got some paintings, some not paintings, but like some artwork framed, nice little frame store, mom and pop shop with, some brothers working there and then a couple of workers who seemed not to be related. Perfect setting for a sitcom.
Yeah, for sure.
The oldest brother is newly divorced and looking for love.
Oh, yeah. You should write this.
Just moved back to town.
But what is he going to live with? Is he going to live alone?
No, I think he'll move in with the family. It'll be called Frames or yeah, I don't know what it would be called. This is what I would like. Okay. I would like to live in cities that are smaller cities.
Okay, you do.
I think Tel Aviv is a great size city. I could honestly go smaller. And I think that having I don't want to live in a place where my community is all the people there, where the population of the place and my community are the same circle in the Venn diagram. I
Hmm.
want my community to be one little circle within a network of circles. But if you're in a place like Manhattan, there's like literally millions of circles, and then there's a big circle which is just too big. It's too much. So small. And I think more people work remotely. I think I've always wondered, why doesn't a group of friends move together to a place that's not LA or New York?
I don't know. It seems like it's like too big of a commitment. Like, I don't know. Is it too vulnerable to say we'll be friends for life because we're all moving to Minneapolis together?
I know it's like we're not there yet, but I really wish we were there. I wish there was like mini, like, yeah, like I wish it was a thing. We're gonna go homestead in Minneapolis, a group of friends from college. We're picking a city and we're gonna do it. We're gonna get some apartments in the same neighborhood. We're gonna work remotely or not, whatever. We're gonna pay low rents because it's like not the biggest city in the world.
Hmm.
And we're gonna forge a functioning community within a small metropolis. That's what I would love to see. Because I think it's kind of in the middle.
It is in the middle, but yeah, and friendship ties are looser ties, which is good because you can go out on a Tuesday night and not. I don't like feeling the pressure of having to invite everyone all the time when I do something.
Yeah.
Do you feel that way?
I don't feel that pressure. But do you think that, like, there was just an article in The Atlantic, like, what if we had put friendship at the center of social life instead of marriage? And like you hear that from time to time. Like, what if that was like, no, I kind of think the magic of friendship is that lightness that we're talking about.
100%, because then it would just be marriage.
Yeah.
If friendship
Friends,
became the center, then friendship is weightier, and then it's just it's the issue is you have to have primary relationships, which are your
yeah,
immediate family.
which are immediate family. I mean, I'm definitely into friends being amongst my primary relationships, but like, would we get a house together in Minneapolis? I think that's a bit too much.
Did you purposely
But
say
maybe
that
not
wrong?
for a certain point of time in life.
Did you purposely say Minneapolis wrong?
Minneapolis. No, I got lost in the word. Indianapolis. Minneapolis.
Uh, I feel good now, Mister. Never pronounce a word wrong, Rory, or else I will say something. Listen, I love the unbearable lightness of friendship. I think it's quite bearable, but meaningful. I mean, I have meaningful friendships, very meaningful friendships. You're one of them. Did you know I consider
Mhm.
you among meaningful
I
friends?
consider you a friend. We're
um,
not just work acquaintances through this podcast.
but there is an effort. There is an effort that comes with friendship that doesn't come with other types of relationships that are you're born into or contractually obligated to.
Wait, you think friendship is more effort than family?
I think to have a close friendship, it's more, what's the word I'm looking for? At will effort is harder to
Mhm.
sometimes find time for,
Hmm.
you
I'm
know?
not sure if I find that to be so.
Think other, not us, we don't, but other people don't have as close of friendships because they don't take the time, you
Hmm.
know?
Yeah.
Don't you think?
Those people on Friends seem to
They
make
all
the time.
they all live near each other.
I know. That's the thing. That show could have been called Roommates. It was really about the shifting roommate dynamics, though, when you really think about it.
That's true. But that was just a matter of it being easier to film.
Yeah, but it ended up shaping the show in so many big ways, and they all switch around so much.
Yeah.
That
Hmm.
wasn't necessary for the show. They could have kept them put, but no, and their characters shift so much depending on who they're living with.
Yeah. That matters. But anyway, yeah, I think friendships could, because they're optional,
Mm-hmm.
they require more pointed effort. And that's why they can often slip through your fingers.
Yeah.
You know? And that's why long distance friendships are, most people are not able to maintain them at the level that you and I have been.
At the same time, though, if you and me were boyfriend and girlfriend, we'd be like, this obviously doesn't work. We're too far apart. But because we're friends, it works.
That's true.
The
I think
lightness of it
really,
is its strength.
you know what's funny though? Whenever I see like anything about in movies or TV shows where a couple has to be apart for like a couple months and they're like, can we do it? I'm like, you guys are babies. A couple months, who gives a shit?
Oh no, it's hard. A couple months.
Why? It's a couple months for your whole life. I don't know.
I
Maybe
guess
it's the nature of my relationship.
I mean, I always felt like Jim and Pam when she has to go to art school are like, it's a little silly how much they
That's what I'm
are
talking about.
crybabies
Things
about
like
each
that.
other. Yeah. But you never know. You feel, the distance then feels vulnerable. You don't have that person's love in front of you. So,
So I
it
guess
feels
it's
more distant.
is it monogamy?
No, I don't necessarily think it's monogamy, but I think it's about, yeah, like security in the relationship.
Like
And I think it's
priority?
about like missing, just about missing and like wanting to have,
Missing a
like,
physical body?
yeah, being bored.
Some people like, yeah, some couples like it's about being together. It's not about talking. And so the phone really doesn't work for them.
I've had some long distance relationships where the phone calls were not working,
Yeah.
boring,
Yes.
silences, like, talking to, a second cousin. It's like, wow, I guess we really like needed the TV and the making out to make this work. Like,
Yeah, I mean, some people like their relationships are about being out there and experiencing the world together.
mhm.
You know, like we go to a place together. Maybe that sparks conversation. Where if it all just comes from your brain, that's not going to fly.
Yeah, talking about your day.
Ugh, anything more boring than having to hear about someone's day?
I know it's rarely interesting. A day, it's just a more boring dream.
Please, God, don't tell me about your anyone you work with. Please, no, don't.
So what would your ideal commune be, your ideal community?
Well, I would like to live closer to our families, like Sam and I's families, like within a 20-minute drive. That's perfect community to me, is family community. And then like living in a neighborhood like I grew up in Chicago. Do we all love the way we grew up? If you didn't have a traumatic childhood, do we all think we grew up in the best place in the world? Do you feel like,
No,
no?
not at all.
Do you feel like you grew up in the best place in the world?
No, I think I grew up in like a non-place with no community.
Oh, okay. Well, I felt like I grew up in a strong community just by the nature of going to like a local small school and like just going to the same shops and I don't know, knowing my neighbors. That's my ideal community. Living alone, knowing your neighbors, doing favors for your neighbors doing favors for you, and also being close to your immediate family.
I guess like we had that growing up, but because it was like one of these communities where people go have kids, raise the kids, and then the whole community like turns over. There's no, and we didn't talk about this and we won't open it up because it's too much now, but like the it's not just about the web of connections between the people. I think for me, it's also important that there's like a web of connections between the people and the place, and
Mm-hmm.
between like the people and the like institutions in the place. So I think I did grow up in a web of people, but the place itself felt very nondescript and like there's nothing really to be attached to. It could have been anywhere. And there were no real institutions to speak of, like, so you grew up in Chicago, which is like a real place that has some, there's something there. And you went to a church growing up, didn't you?
Yeah.
There's that.
Yeah, there is. Church is important for that. Ways we talked
Yeah,
about.
I need love of place. And that's I've had such a hard time during my 2-year stint in Boston, even though I was in a good I was in a community of people, but I really didn't feel connected to the place. And I think that's very crucial for me.
I completely agree. You're going to the same shops. You're seeing the same shop owners.
Hmm.
You're every year there's this stupid festival in the neighborhood I grew up in, and I can count on it every year since I was a kid. You know what I mean?
Yeah, those things are nice. The rhythms. The
Yeah. So
community, is it how to be?
I don't. I think we have gotten too far away from community. I don't know if it's how to be. Yeah. No. Yes. No. I do feel burdened, but I don't have kids, so I'll probably feel more burdened when if I have kids.
I don't think we should be going back, but I think we need to move forward. I think we need to figure out something, a better solution than the kibbutz and the HOA and the Bama rush. We need to really figure out how to form healthy communities
Yeah, it's not a
that make
priority
us
for
feel
us.
good.
It's an add-on to existing institutions like work or college life.
Yeah.
I think it could be prioritized better.
College is a great community. I liked I felt I felt so the opposite of loneliness in college.
Um, yeah, but sometimes you have to have these weird artificial communities like sororities, which I think are go too far.
Yeah. What if there was like a Sarah Lawrence for adults?
Um,
Dorms, classes.
you pay $50,000 a year to be there. That's the rent. $50,000.
Yeah.
You get 10 meals a week for that, like we did.
That's all you need.
10 meals a week. What an
10
interesting
meals a
meal
week.
plan we had.
Only a glutton would dare have more.
Alrighty.
Bye bye.
Bye, Matt.
Love you dearly.